The Tale of the Nine-Tailed was easily one of the best shows of 2020 despite faltering slightly toward the end. All seemed well as we left the characters on a bittersweet, happy note, so it came as a surprise when it was announced that the show was renewed not for 1 but 2 seasons. Anticipation and curiosity arose with the first stills and show being set in 1938, and I'm happy to announce that Season 2 is off to an incredible start. There's so much to love about the action-adventure mystical caper that Season 2 promises to be. It's chock-full of references to Season 1, hasn't retconned anything, thus far, and continues Lee Yeon's, Dong Wook, devotion to his now wife. Nam Ji-ah, Jo Bo-ah. Here's what we loved about the premiere and every reason to start watching. The show picks up right at the end of the drama but before the epilogue. Yeon, still devastated by his half-brother Lee Rang's, Kim Bum, sacrifice to save him, pesters the Underworld's manager, Taluipa, Jung Nan, on how to reincarnate him. The first season's epilogue shows that this reincarnation works because Yeon finds Rang reincarnated, albeit with no memory of him. However 2020's Lee Yeon has no clue, and Taluipa isn't spilling, unless Lee Yeon returns to being a gumiho and enforces law and order among non-human beings interfering in matters between the spiritual and human realms. Yeon agrees on the condition that he doesn't get the immortality portion of being a gumiho. He wants to die at the same time Ji-ah does. He throws it out so casually too. And if that isn't the most insanely romantic thing, I don't know what is. And just like that, our gumiho is back in business. And just in time too because a new enemy has appeared, whose roots are buried in the murky years Yeon spent between Aeum's, Jo Bo-ah, death and her reincarnation as Nam Ji-ah. The mystery masked man steals the gem that wards the boundary between life and the Samdo River that carries the dead and jumps into a portal. Yeon follows with Taluipa's warning that he'll be stuck if he doesn't get back with the gem within 16 hours of entry. Yeon expects to fight his way through one of the hells, but he suddenly finds himself back in 1938. Yeon's chase of the mystery masked man with the gem leads him to none other than Lee Rang, the devious half-gumiho you can't help but love. Naturally, this past iteration of Rang holds all the resentment that the first season's Rang held and then some. 2020's Rang had a long time for that resentment to fester, but 1938's Rang hasn't had even 50 years yet. But he still tries to kill his brother because it's Rang we're talking about. But Yeon gets visibly emotional at having his brother back and happily takes it all, apologizing for drowning his own sorrows in the wake of Aeum's death instead of watching for his brother. But he also knows that he can't stay in this timeline when it's imperative that the gem be returned to 2020. He makes his farewells and apologies and is about to leave when Rang is stabbed through the heart by the mystery masked man. Yeon vows revenge but has to stay in 1938 in order to find a way to save him. And the only method of doing that is to trust a mercurial being with the ability to lengthen lifespans located in a courtesan house called Myeongguk. Trapped between life and death, Rang's spirit follow Yeon around invisible to him while he tries to outwit the being to save his brother. This is a great concept because it provides a great reason for why Lee Yeon would be stuck in 1938 because he loves his brother as much as he loves Ji-ah. In addition, having Yeon risk everything to save Rang's life in this timeline is the best way of earning 1938 Rang's trust. And Lee Yeon is going to need all the allies he can get here, seeing as he's both out of time and running out of time. As for where 1938's Lee Yeon is? Well, he's in a rather embarrassing place physically and emotionally. The Lee Yeon of this era is relatively fresh off